Hey guys, it's Emily, and right now I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how your HTML and your CSS documents, when creating a website, communicate with each other, and the one crucial tag that it takes to make sure that everything is working smoothly. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about HTML5 and how it differs from all the other versions and what they added, and I'm going to touch a little bit on some Sass and some SCSS and how that kind of differs. So you see here that we have our basic HTML structure. I use div tags just because I know they're generic, and I used them for like ID purposes. But so your document starts off always with the doc type HTML, which allows your HTML document to be opened up in different browsers and for it to be read correctly. And every HTML document needs to start with the HTML tag, obviously, and a head tag. And inside your head tag, you have this meta tag that in the newer versions of HTML has been simplified that you only need to include your char set. You don't need to include all the other different elements that went into it that you found yourself just copying and pasting from, different projects. And same with the doc type. It was simplified down from this really long tag that nobody really knew what it meant, so you kind of just copied and pasted it from project to project, and just you knew that it worked. But now it's super simplified and makes it a lot easier to get your project started. Other things that go inside your head tag are your title tag that shows whatever's going to be on the tab of your website, and then you have your body tag. And in your body tag is where all of the content for your for your project is going to go. So this is where all of your div tags, all of your paragraphs, all of your headings, all of your articles, all of your sections, everything is going to go inside of this body tag, and anything that isn't inside this body tag is not visible to the user. And then obviously you have to close out your body and HTML tags at the end, but you don't need to close out your doc type. So I have a basic CSS file already set up with that modifies some things to the body tag, and it modifies a paragraph that I labeled test 1. My naming conventions are horrible, but this is strictly for example purposes. So this specific paragraph is called test 1, and it's inside of a div called test. I have some formatting for H1 tags, and I have some formatting for paragraph tags. So this is what the web page looks like currently. There's no formatting, even though we do have CSS that says that our text color of our first paragraph should be white, the background color should be black, and these should all be different. So the reason that those aren't communicating with each other is because we're missing a very important tag, and that is our link tag, which links our CSS to STY. There we go. That links our CSS to our actual HTML document. So the link tag is another thing that was simplified in the newer versions of HTML. You used to have to be able to specify the type, which is no longer necessary. So because the browser is going to recognize whatever type of file it is based off of the extension on your href, you don't need to specify that it's going to be a CSS or an SCSS or whatever, because it's gonna be able to figure it out based off of what it's reading in. So if I save that and I go back to my browser and I refresh my browser, now you see all of our new formatting. So this link tag has to be in the header. It doesn't matter where in the header it goes, the order doesn't matter, but it needs to be in the head tag, otherwise this CSS document has no access. So this is basic vanilla CSS. I could change the background color back to the default, which is white, if I wanted to, and I could change this to orange. Actually, let's do red. It'll probably be easier to see. So if I save that and I go back here, you see everything is communicating. I know that was hard to read, but we're going to change it back. So that's basically how you communicate between your forms. I know that that was way simpler, but something cool about the reason I have these labeled the way that they do is because in SAS, nobody really coding with vanilla CSS isn't really the general practice anymore. You want to kind of go beyond that these days. So what's really cool is this thing called SCSS and SAS, which allows for a whole bunch of different things like nesting, and it adds variables, and it adds has mix-ins, and it has includes, and it has extends, and it makes organizing your CSS and targeting specific parts of your CSS way easier than it used to be. You can even add conditionals in some cases. So here I used a little bit of nesting, and I can't actually show you how this would work in an actual document. Like, I can't pull it up in my website because I don't have a normalizer set up. But this is what this would work. This would work the same as this vanilla CSS works with more specificity. Well, that's not the right word. With more specific targeting. So in this .test, which is our div tag right here, that's targeting the specific paragraph without needing to target the paragraph's ID. I can target that. Every paragraph tag that's going to be within this specific div tag will have this formatting. And if I wanted to target the specific paragraph, I could do .test1 if I wanted to, and then if I wanted to target a different paragraph within the same thing, I could do it again if it existed. So it'll have the same effect on our document that our other thing would have, our other CSS document would have, but I can't show it, and it adds some nesting. You can add variables with SAS, so I could say like main background color, and then I could set that equal to, well, you wouldn't set it equal to, you would say, I could say main background color is going to be black. And then here, in background color, I could say, instead of specifying black, I could say this, I want this to be the main background color. And then I could use this variable anywhere else in my document, and I wouldn't have to specify black each time. I could say use this color. You can add, like, you don't have to type specifically black. You could type the actual color code for it using the pound sign and all of your zeros. And then it would still have the same functionality, but you cannot do that in regular CSS. So just some quick examples of the different things that SAS can do. A really good example of SAS being implemented is in this document that is found on Lynda in a course that I've been doing. Its actual style CSS file is just a bunch of imports saying, I want you to read in these different files in this order and format the page accordingly. So, for example, in this variables page are all of the variables for all the different colors. This is where the different fonts get imported, and this is where all the different things are set. Then in the main thing, since it's importing them, I can reference those colors in any of these other documents. So, and this is an example of some of the HTML5 elements like sections, how you can determine like whether to use a section or not. I found this really nice PDF on HTML5 that kind of helps me to understand when to use specific HTML5 elements and when not to. Aside from header and footer, since those are fairly obvious, this kind of walks you through and does a flowchart sort of on when to use these different tags, and it helps me specifically to figure out like when I want to use each element. So yeah, that's a quick rundown of how to get your forms to communicate with each other, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you next video.